Shalom, Kol Halo, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim Rakal Kwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them, that taught us His truth. And Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. All right, this lesson is going to be titled something to the effect of the beginning of famine and civil unrest. All right, so let's start right here in Romans 15 and 4, and we'll read it in the King James first. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the Scriptures, might have hope. Now let's read the NIV, see if we can get a little more understanding. For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us everything, so that through the endurance taught in the Scriptures, right, and the encouragement they provide, we might have hope. That's breaking it down a little further. All right, and guess what? You're going to need crazy endurance in this famine, right? In this civil unrest. Let's read the NLT. Such things were written in the Scriptures long ago to teach us. And the Scriptures give us hope and encouragement as we wait patiently for the Most High's promises to be fulfilled. All right? So let's look at something that was written. This is the book of Acts 11 and 28. Okay? Let's read the King James. And there stood up one of them named Agabus, and signified by the Spirit that there should be great dearth throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. Now we'll read it in the NIV, and we'll look for some words that jump out. Let's read the ESV. Okay. And one of them named Agabus stood up and foretold by the Spirit that there would be a great famine over all the world. This took place in the days of Claudius. Okay, so yes, this was a long time ago. And over all the world means the known world at the time. Okay, right here it says over the entire Roman world. Okay? The sun never sets on the Roman Empire or whatever. They were talking about a specific region at the time. At this time, it wasn't the entire world. But, okay, it was written for our learning, and it was also written for this time as well. Okay? All right? And one of them named Agabus stood up and foretold by the Spirit that there would be a great famine over all the world. Okay? Through the Spirit, Agabus stood up and predicted through the Spirit that a great famine would sweep across the whole world. Well, that applies to now. Back then it applied to the Roman world. Now it applies to the whole world. Everybody's about to catch this hell. First of all, Jake is spread throughout the world. Okay? We're in every country in the world. All right? So with that, watch a couple of videos. All right? We'll get to this guy. We'll get to, forget his name, Canadian Prepper. First, let's watch this. Let's go to Sri Lanka. And everybody is chiming in on the food right now. Let's see. I don't think this is not what we want you to.
If you use.
Okay. Bear with me. Okay, here it is. So the title of this is Sky News May 15th, which is yesterday, all right? Unrest in Sri Lanka as shortages and inflation grow. Okay, so this is energy and food. All right, they're going to say that. All right, letting you know, hey, you got to have certain things to cook. You got to have cooking oil, you got to have energy, right? Let's watch it.
Anger and frustration on the streets of Colombo. Months of shortages with no end in sight.
We need the gas. Only gas.
We want gas, gas. We want gas, gas.
I am a mother. One child I have. I can't give anything to ask my child.
We want gas, gas.
We need the action, not the debate. We don't need the words.
Gas prices have almost tripled since last year. Sri Lanka is facing its most serious economic crisis ever, and the poor are suffering the most. Gas, food.
Gas, food. Okay. That famine is going to wake people up real quick. 3 days of no food, and it's on and cracking. And it has begun.
Gas, food, fuel, and medicine, there isn't enough of anything. What's available is becoming more expensive by the day.
Hyperinflation.
Charmely earns $2 a day. Most of that is spent on kerosene for cooking.
මගේ පඩියෙන් භාගයක්ම යනවා මේ බෝතලේ ගන්න මට. පඩියම භාගයක් ගියොත් වැඩක් නැහැනේ. ගන්න පඩිය මදි මේ වලට අපිට.
There are 5 people to cook for, and her shopping bill has almost doubled in the last 3 months. Sometimes it all gets too much.
අපිට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ පුළුවන් නම් අපිට මේවා කරලා දෙන්න නැත්නම් ඉතින් අයින් වෙලා වෙන කෙනෙක් පුළුවන් කෙනෙක්ව දාන්න. ඒක තමයි.
Gonna be weeping and gnashing of teeth. We're coming into that crazy time.
But no help is coming. Not yet, anyway. People are dealing with this crisis on their own.
Sri Lanka is almost broke. There's a tanker of fuel out there waiting to unload, but the government can't afford to pay for it.
All right? So they're holding it off. They're starving them out. And this is going on everywhere. All right? This devil has a plan. He's creating this thing. All right? And it's going to backfire on him.
There's simply not enough money left to keep the country afloat.
With Sri Lanka on the edge
Civil unrest.
of economic collapse, government supporters attacked peaceful protesters, beating people, destroying tents.
Mob mentality.
9 people died and more than 200 injured as violence spread across the country. Vishwa was one of them, punched by supporters of the now former Prime Minister, Mahinda Rajapaksa. Even as he was beaten, he held onto his phone and kept filming.
මුළු රටක් එකතු වුණා. ඒක දැනෙච්ච නිසා අතරම ටොපික් පර්සනල් ගත්තත් මම සතුටු වෙනවා. මේ මාතෘ භූමිය එක පවුලක් විනාශ කරගෙන යනවා.
He probably the Jake out there getting beat down.
That family is the Rajapaksas.
Now these are Elamites right here.
His anger now focused on President Rajapaksa, known as Gota. Right now, there's no solution for Sri Lanka's problems. And without one, the likelihood of more violence grows stronger. Nicole Johnston, Sky News.
All right, so that's in Sri Lanka. They've beaten each other down. Okay, and the people that were doing the beat down probably got a little bit of food for it. All right, so now let's go to the Persians, the Carmanians, if you will. Let's go right here.
Been using these for months now.
Slovakia. All right, here we go.
And joining us now is our correspondent in Tehran, Reza Saya.
All right,
Reza,
Reza, hold on. This is France 24 English, the 13th of May, a couple of days ago. Iran, the Persians, arrest at least 22 protesting staple food price hikes. Food in Iran. Iran got oil and money. At least 22 arrested in protests over food price hikes. All right? Look where it's located. They got fighting going on right up in here. Right? In this Eastern Europe where they're fighting. Listen to this.
you tell us about these protests?
When you have protests like this in Iran, it's oftentimes very difficult, sometimes impossible to verify exactly how big they are, how widespread they are, and exactly where they are, especially when they're outside of Tehran, because we simply don't have access to these locations and we can't independently verify what's happening. However, with the limited information we have, let's tell you what we do know. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen an increasing number of video clips posted online, posted on social media, showing demonstrations and protests in at least two southern cities in the southern province of Khuzestan. In these protests, you see demonstrators sometimes chanting anti-government slogans against current Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. Sometimes the protests are turning violent. When you look at these video clips, you see rioters burning tires and security forces responding by firing tear gas in an effort to disperse the demonstrators. Very limited reporting by Iran state media. One of the few reports we saw earlier today said that 22 demonstrators have been arrested. Why are people angry? Because of sudden price hikes when it comes to basic food items. The government announcing price hikes with 4 basic food items, including cooking oil, eggs, chicken, and milk. Other food items, including sandwich bread, pasta, flour, they've gone up as well. And the reason for these sudden price hikes are twofold. On one hand, these price hikes are part of Iran's efforts to reform the economy, to get rid of very costly subsidies. The other reason is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Both Russia and Ukraine, major suppliers of food to Iran. Russia supplies at least half of Iran's wheat supply. Ukraine supplying Iran with a lot of cooking oil. Obviously, the conflict there disrupting some of those supplies, and that too has led to some of these sudden price hikes.
Well, Reza, the whole country, I imagine, is dealing with these rising food prices. So how likely are these protests to spread, and how is the government responding?
It's hard to say how these protests are going to unfold. They certainly could spread. You'll recall in 2019 when the government raised gas prices, you saw protests spreading very quickly. Some of the largest protests since the revolution in 1979, and that protest turned deadly. Could this happen again? It's certainly possible. We'll keep our eye out in the coming hours and days. The government doing what it can to reassure people, ease frustrations. They promised every Iranian the equivalent of about 14 euros a month in cash handouts. They're also trying to reassure people by making statements saying this is necessary to reform the economy. Obviously, that hasn't eased everyone's anger because some people are protesting. We'll see what happens in the coming days.
Okay, our correspondent in Tick.
All right, so hey, that shit's going down. All right, let's get Revelation real quick. Is it? Revelation 6 and 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Let's read it up here. I looked, and there before me was a pale horse, and his rider was named Death. Who is as Death? Esau is as Death. Okay? And Hades was following close behind him as they were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine. There it is. Famine and plague. Are they not doing that right now? And by the wild beasts of the earth. It's probably going to be in the. Try to get this. Slocky, bear with me. Uh-oh. I am not finding it. Let's see. It's in Psalms, ain't it? I can't find it. Slovakia. I'll have to come back and find it. Well, anyway, Slovakia, can't find it. Happens sometimes. Let's go to this guy here, and I'll continue to look. This is where'd he go? Here, right here. Okay, this is Canadian.
This powerful $99 drone.
Slovakia.
4K glory. You'll be able to see the whole wall. This is just a part of the wall that you...
This is a Canadian Prepper Channel. Today, May 16th. Warning, global food riots have started. See that global? All the world. The famine has began. Countries have started restricting grain shipments and halting exports of stable commodities. Major riots have started in numerous countries over the price of food.
See, with this small camera that we got here, how much time do we got? How much time has Big Brother allotted us? I hate this. You know, you can't put a memory card in a phone nowadays because they don't want you to have that sort of freedom anymore. You got to store everything on some remote server somewhere. That's the least of our problems, unfortunately. So, big stuff to discuss here. So, India has banned their grain exports. India was the West's last hope to help stabilize the global food market, and India has said, screw this. We can see the writing on the wall, and they have announced a ban on the export of cereals with immediate effect. Now, we need to remind you that China and Russia have already done the same thing. They've already banned the export of food. And remember, it was about a year ago when China was telling its people that they need to stock up on food. And China, of course, currently has the highest level of food stockpiles that they've ever had before. Why is all this happening? I wonder why all this is happening. Well, we're going to talk about why it's happening exactly. Now, exports from India will continue to be allowed to countries that need wheat to meet their security needs at the request of the Indian government. How much, of course, is unknown. Now, India did want to try to capitalize on this shortfall of these commodities as a result of the Ukraine war, but something must have clicked, because now they have ceased in their exportation. It should also be known that India, as well as Kazakhstan, have imposed quotas on the export of grain shipments as well. And the Black Sea region, where this war is being waged, is also the hub of around 1/4 of all of the world's grain trade, which is in some way, shape, or form has been impeded. Of course, we all know that the Ukraine harvest is going to be abysmal, and whatever of that can be grown is likely going to be used domestically. Maybe small amounts of it are going to be exported. To top it all off, wheat crops were damaged during the hottest March in the country's history, causing yields to plummet up to 50% in some parts of the country. Now, what does the rest of the Western world think about this? Well, they just think India is not doing their part. India, a country with 1.5 billion people, a country the size of maybe a few states put together, okay, 1.5 billion people. The West has the audacity to give them flack in light of the situation that we are currently in for not exporting food. G7 agricultural ministers on Saturday criticized India's decision to ban wheat exports following the recent heat wave, saying it would only exacerbate the crisis in grain supplies, which is already under pressure in the war in Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, that's like telling a family who has, an ample food supply to just, give away all your stuff to the poor people because, there's this crisis going on in the world right now. And you're the cause of the problem, right? Well, maybe that's actually a terrible analogy. But as they say, if everybody starts imposing such restrictions on exports or even closing markets, it will only exacerbate the crisis and also affect India and its farmers. German agricultural minister Cam Özdemir he says that. And, he may have a point in terms of affecting Indian farmers because, of course, that may well reduce the amount of capital they are able to generate as a result of not being able to export food. But it's a sign of the times, guys. You have all these countries, the main grain producers of the world, the main food exporters, aren't exporting their food anymore. Now, we in Canada and the United States happen to be net exporters as well, And so we're not going to be too affected by this, but everybody gets affected because that drives up the price overall, which does raise domestic prices. And of course, we will see some shortages and we'll definitely see major food price increases, which is why that food that you stockpiled when maybe watched our how to store rice to make it last 25 years video 3 or 4 years ago, that rice will now be worth almost double because the cost of these commodities is doubling, if not tripling, year over year.
All right, so you can see where this is going. All right, and this guy might be an Edomite. I don't know. The jury is still out. Okay, so go and watch the rest of that while I get Habakkuk. See, if I didn't get this, I know some people watching this. You couldn't get that, huh? Habakkuk 2. We got to establish that this is talking about Esau. Let's do that. Okay. Let's start at 4. The point is in 5. This is Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright. And who is that? It's your boy Esau. But the just shall live by his faith. Even through this famine, we're going to show you that right now. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, philosophy, false lies, and untruths. He is a proud man. Who's that? That's Esau. Neither keepeth at home, okay, who enlarges his desire as hell, and this is what I was looking for, and is as death. Esau is as death. Death and hell followed. Who? Esau. The pale horse, and cannot be satisfied, but garneth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. What was that? Revelation 6. And is as death. Go back here real quick. Okay. And I looked in a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Esau. And hell followed him. Power was given unto them, okay, over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth, okay? And that's what we see. Where's that famine? Hunger. That word hunger goes to famine, okay? It's a lot. Famine. Famine. Who's the sword? Whose blessing is the sword? Let's talk about Esau. Famine. Plague. Sword. To kill. Who's that? Okay? All right, but this is Psalm 33. Here's the good news. Psalm 33, 19. Start at 18. Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from the devil Esau, and to keep them alive in famine. Got that? The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Okay? Get a couple more close. Job 5. Job 5 and 20. In famine he shall redeem thee from the devil Esau, from death. And in war from the power of who? Esau the sword. Are we not in the time of war? You don't see this famine? Here comes World War III. There's Esau. There's Esau. All right? You got to be in this truth. You got to stay prayed up, as they say. Psalm 37. Start at 18. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. Not for 1,000 years, and then Esau is going to come back after we're in the kingdom. Elder Lahab. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. All right? There we go. Proverbs 10 and 3. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. That word famish goes into the famine. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to starve to death. Okay? To go hungry. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry. Okay? Get it? And Isaiah. We'll close on this. Let's just start at 13. Isaiah 65 and 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. All right? Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, have peace of mind, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit, weeping and gnashing of teeth. You're going to be hungry. You're going to have to go pull a lick. All right? So, hey, strap on your helmet, your chin strap, your boots. Here we go. All right? So with that, we hope that the elect were edified. And with that, we're going to say shalom.